I'm Christina Rodenbeck from the Oxford Astrologer, and I'm here with my friend Sally Kirkman. Hello, Sally.
Hi, Christina.
From sallykirkman.com to discuss the astrology of the coming 4 weeks. That is it's the 19th of February to around the 20th of March, isn't it? Pisces season.
Yeah, I think the sun enters Pisces on the 18th, actually, 18th of Feb this year.
It's early this year, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, so we're in Pisces season. We're coming up to Pisces season. But how was last month for you, Sally?
Well, tricky. Tricky. I had COVID. I had my turn with COVID, which actually wasn't that bad, but obviously had to isolate. So, and my energy levels took a while to kind of recover. So yeah, a lot of navel gazing and soul searching as I was home alone, being ill. But yeah, all fine. And I was in a house by the sea. So when I wasn't poorly, I could get out to the sea, and it was my Jupiter return, my Jupiter in Pisces. So, you know, I was so close to the sea, which was lovely. But yeah, it wasn't the best of months. I mean, how was your month?
Oh, I got, dived into a huge, I wouldn't say depression exactly, but gloom. I dived into gloom, and I have to say it was very tough month, January. I knew it would be because of all the retrogrades and stuff. And, it's the darkest part of the year. And I stopped listening to the news, which helped a lot. So I actually haven't been listening to the news because I realized that we are in, if you're constantly getting this loop of, this noise that's very negative, you can at least turn that off. And I have been distracting myself in my usual way with literature and movies.
Good. In true Pisces fashion, then.
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. There've been some very interesting and good movies to watch. We watched Power of the Dog and The Lost Daughter. There did seem to be a theme in January, which I found interesting because of the Venus retrograde of lost daughters, including that film. We watched another one called Mother and Child from 2012 with Annette Bening, which is also about that same theme. So yeah, I've been doing that. I've been distracting myself with art.
Good. Yeah, because it's been, I mean, the other, I thought it was classic because both these retrogrades, Venus and Mercury, pulled in Pluto.
Yeah.
Even the turning points weren't that pleasant. On the day that Venus turned direct, I mean, normally, they really are sort of green lights, things switch on. And I know for some people that was the case, but I got my tax bill readjusted on the day that Venus turned direct, and I had to pay more.
Yeah.
It was like, really? That's that's come to light? Not happy about that. But I mean, perfect symbolism, isn't it?
It is perfect symbolism. It was an incredibly expensive month as well. I mean, I not just the tax bill, I had my vet bill. My cat nearly died. Cat news from the Oxford Astrologer. I feel like I'm always talking about my cats, but my cat Heart nearly died, and that was just horrendous, and then cost an unbelievable amount. Although I think that his kind of medical care is probably better than ours.
Probably.
You go to the vet and he has blood tests and he gets it back within hours.
I know.
It makes you think, doesn't it? If that's possible.
They're not on a waiting list. They're not on a waiting list with the NHS, aren't they?
Yeah, he nearly died. And on the same day that he nearly died, my dad's cat in France did die.
Oh gosh. So, I mean, real Pluto themes actually then. Real Pluto theme. Yeah. So we need to kind of, I'm going to be glad when the inner planets move out of Capricorn now, which does happen during this season, because, they're dragging along next to Pluto. So it seems to be quite tough stuff emerging, and some kind of completion going on from 2 years ago as well. It's it's not easy. So I'm looking forward to that in this month ahead. But we should talk about Pisces, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I want to say something else as
Oh,
well.
okay. You say something
We're
else.
recording this on the 15th and I'm getting married tomorrow. Just on the up, because I'm just popping that in because tomorrow is a very good day. Astrologically, of course, with the Mars-Venus conjunction, which I think we'll be discussing some more because it just continues, goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And Jupiter will be on my sun.
Beautiful.
And on David's Jupiter, which is
Lovely.
very nice. I
His
think
Jupiter return.
his Jupiter return, and Mercury will be on my Venus.
And you're doing this all under a lovely full moon, the full moon in Leo.
The full moon in Leo, exactly, which is good for my ascendant. So I think that although last month was actually very difficult, we're now entering a new phase already, and it sort of started to shift from about the 1st of February.
Yeah, and I do actually, for last month, I want to give a big shout out to all my friends in Aquarius season, because they, God, without my friends, they've really been there. They've really, supported and helped me laugh, and they've been great in Aquarius season. So shout out to friends.
Yeah, it's funny about laughing. Laughing has been really, really important. We've actually been, I know, we've been rewatching Modern Family from the beginning, and that's been very amusing and very interesting as a sort of historical piece already. 10 years old or something now.
You find a lot of time to binge watch and do this Pisces thing, don't you? I mean, you really do. Films, TV, watching. I mean, it's so, you're a Pisces, obviously, but it's a big part of your life, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is. Being lost in fiction is a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I think that it's also part of the Neptune and Pisces period that we're in.
Yes.
Allowing yourself to be lost in fiction. The important thing is to understand that it's fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about fake news and all that stuff, and the fact that we live in this world of hall of mirrors now, and an issue for people in general is not differentiating between fact and fiction. And it will become increasingly difficult with Jupiter and Neptune and this both in Pisces, and this month with the sun in Pisces. I think that the world of make-believe, which I enjoy so much and spend so much time in, has broken the boundaries into the real world so thoroughly that we have these mass, I want to say mass delusions, but it's a thing, and it's really important just for anybody who's listening to this to be aware that we are in this period of make-believe, and to keep track of what's true, what's fiction, and what's non-fiction. And this is the whole worlds that are created. This is, the Pisces, the world of Pisces. So, it's fine if you know that you're watching Breaking Bad, and that's the world of Albuquerque in 2010 or whenever it was. And it's not your world, but it's when you get the leakage that it becomes very dangerous. So it's important for people to see where the reality is.
Yeah. And also I think for, if you've got strong Pisces, actually, it's moving forward into Pisces season, even more important. It makes me think of when my daughter, air sign daughter, was quite little, and we were watching, it was Bambi. And spoiler alert, there's a death in there. I was weeping, as I do at these things, and she turned to me and said, "Mummy, why are you crying? It's not real." So maybe we need the air signs. I know it's not real, but it's sad.
Yeah. You need the
So,
air signs. I mean, the thing that the water signs are able to do is be involved, is
mm,
to allow yourself that
mm,
emotional
mm,
involvement, which is an incredible release because it means you can do it in a book or on screen or with the movie or whatever, instead of doing that in real life.
mm, mm,
If you understand that's how you work.
yeah.
So that's, people who are either have the sun or the moon in a water sign, it's important to keep this in mind, or the ascendant as well. So
Mhm,
that would be Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer.
mm,
And we've been through a really difficult time with this pandemic, and a lot of people I talk to are really starting to, they managed quite well in the first lockdown. That was actually quite nice in some ways. They managed to, but now it's become very lonely, isolating, difficult, and hard to imagine even getting back into where you were before or what it was like before.
yeah. And I think also, that's as we're moving from an air sign, Aquarius, into water sign, Pisces. It's important to have, I mean, I miss hugs, affection.
Yes,
There's all of that too. I mean, because we've been so separated. So moving into Pisces season, it is important to sort of reconnect actually. And use the positive side of Pisces actually, which is to really sense what someone else is feeling, to really spend time with people more if we can moving forward. I think we've been missing that so much.
well, and Saturn in Aquarius has been so unhelpful for that.
Yeah.
It's really set these boundaries so ridiculously strongly.
Mm,
And people are desperate for that contact. But, in some ways, I think the question is, how do you have that?
mm,
And um, and what was it really? What was the contact? It's not
mm,
like we were all going around hugging everybody. What was it? I mean, I feel like we should all take up dancing, ballroom dancing or salsa or something,
mm.
for that to reestablish that contact with other human beings.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think, when Jupiter goes into Aries, we're also going to be, that's this even more so. Uh,
Mm.
Pisces is a sociable sign,
Yeah,
it's
it
not,
is. It is. They want to merge, don't they? They want to merge with the other Pisces.
Pisces
Um,
as a festivals sign, not my scene, but merging with the other, being in a huge crowd is quite a kind of pleasant place for Pisces.
mm,
Feeling,
mm,
um, being in the, being part, watching a concert, being part of that, being part of group emotions is really important for Pisces. And I think this is one of the reasons that we're seeing these things like Ottawa, what's happening in Ottawa. I was reading about that and descriptions of it, and it's obviously, I mean, who knows um, what exactly is motivating people, but one of the things that's clearly motivating people is that need to be together and to be emoting, which sounds strange. You never think of Canadians as these heavily emotional people. They're supposed to be really nice and nice, calm Canadians, and yet they've had this outbreak in Ottawa of, um, I want to say, just hyper emotion,
mm,
which is, it's dangerous if it's completely irrational.
mm.
Um, but there's something about people needing to have that actual connection, which
Yeah.
they're missing. And the internet, what we're doing has made up for that very well, but it's not a
Mm,
substitute.
mm. Not at all. It's a disconnect still.
Yeah,
I think it being in the same room with someone physically is so different because you pick up on their energy, you feel things in a different way. I mean, when we're talking on these screens, it works at a different level. Um, there is something that's slightly removed. So moving into Pisces season again, it's there's it's compassion, isn't it? It's that one of the kindest. I mean, Pisces, I love Pisces because they just sort of want to look after everybody and look after, you
Yes,
know,
overly
people,
so
and
sometimes.
overly so, but yeah. Oh, look, that person needs help. Oh, look, this pet needs help.
Yeah,
Real compassionate, sometimes overgiving nature, boundless. A lack of boundaries is quite a Pisces theme, isn't it?
yeah.
As this, yeah, as Pisces know.
Well, I was just thinking one of my other sad things that was happening in January that I'm finding really sad is various older people I know, well, three specifically, one in particular, have galloping dementia. And that's very, again, that's like a loss of, it's this terrible loss of the self.
Yeah.
And kind of, merging. It's really awful, cruel. It's a cruel thing. And actually, at a certain point, no matter how compassionate you are as a Pisces, there's not actually very much you can do, So one of the lessons of Pisces is to learn how to, where to stop with that compassion, and understand that you're not able to, no matter how kind you are, it's not going to be that helpful to everybody.
Yeah, and it's a very sensitive sign too. So you've got to, I suppose it's that heal thyself first before you heal others, isn't it? You've got to look after yourself and look after your own needs as well. Otherwise that water just runs down the drain. The emotions run down the drain really as well. So it's a really interesting sign. I did love that Rihanna, Pisces, got pregnant. Jupiter in Pisces, Jupiter expands. So we have this, good news pregnancy for Rihanna. That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And she's a Pisces with a lot of Aries as well. So she's going to be, when's the baby due? Do you know?
I don't know. I would think it'd be the summer, probably when Jupiter's in Aries, I would have thought.
Yeah. So she's going to have that Jupiter going into her first, I think, that, which is classic for pregnancy as well, isn't it? Over the sun into the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really nice piece of news, isn't it, Rihanna? That's going to be a very cute baby, I think. Yeah, I noticed that Carrie Johnson, Boris Johnson's wife, is also a Pisces, and she'll be having that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction on her North Node.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
What is that about? What's she falling into?
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but Partygate is a bit of a scandal. And one of the things that Neptune in particular is associated with is scandal. So we'll see what happens with that, or whether that's, we're already seeing that.
Yeah.
It's a huge reputational thing for her,
And I think the other Pisces who we must mention briefly is Prince Andrew. Randy Andy, with his, also because of course he's got the Venus-Mars conjunction in Capricorn. And we're in this period in the year when Venus and Mars are together, but he's got Pluto on his Venus-Mars, hasn't he? So that doesn't doesn't look great for what's going on. Another one involved in a huge scandal, actually, another Pisces involved in a huge scandal.
Yeah, it's a big scandal. And isn't that interesting, that we always, it's a classic thing that, when you read an astrology book, even in the 19th century, they're talking about Neptune being somehow associated with scandal. And there we have two. Yeah, I mean, I have to say that Prince Andrew, God, there's all sun signs have a good, there's good aspects and bad aspects, but he really exemplifies a very low side of Pisces, I think.
Well, yeah, I think it was, there can be this real sort of just love of the good life, and a fame calls you, doesn't it? Or you just sort of, because of his privilege, probably he thought he could have anything. So this is where Pisces, again, there's no sort of limits in place, or a lack of self-responsibility, probably. You fall into desire, actually, and want to kind of you know, and a lot of, and there's also that, yeah, I mean, it is about fame, isn't it? It's about the people who want fame. I mean, that is so elusive. It's so kind of intangible, but it is part of that Pisces allure, you know, rather than want to do something that's deeply fulfilling or meaningful. Not necessarily talking about Andrew there, but I just got onto Pisces, another aspect of it.
An aspect of Pisces that's really interesting is just influence, you know, wanting to have influence. And that is Rupert Murdoch is the other Pisces I always think of, who's a massively influential person.
Yeah.
And to influence the way people feel. You know, you couldn't describe a media baron, you know, the person who owns Fox News and the Sun newspaper as, you know, that's what he does. He influences the way people feel.
Yeah. Which is the, you know, that's what the media's become, isn't it? It's, gosh, so emotional and you know, in seductive. There's a seductive side to it as well. The flip side of the media. No
boundaries. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of that we're in this place of mirrors. We're in this very confusing place because of the Neptune Jupiter conjunction that's coming up. That we're already feeling it, you know. And now when the sun goes into Pisces on the 19th of February, then it's really kicking off. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But let's talk about the month ahead.
Yeah, let's.
And I think that we really need to talk about this Venus-Mars conjunction.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, I mean, incredible, isn't it? That you know, they don't come together that often. And we've got them side by side, really, Venus and Mars. There's a Venus-Mars conjunction in Capricorn that was February the 16th, so just before Pisces season. But then they both leave Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, and make another conjunction on March the 6th at 0 Aquarius. It's really interesting astrology, isn't it?
It's incredibly significant because that means that Venus and Mars together are basically going over the same spots that were so activated at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then the same that they make a conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius, which is the very degree where Jupiter and Saturn made a conjunction in December 2020. You know, an historic conjunction. Okay, this is a major historical turning point. Both of those, that big stellium, which started the pandemic at the beginning of 2020, and then the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, which started this 26-year cycle that we're in. These are both now being activated by these smaller planets, bringing in more stuff, you know, these more personal planets, you know. So this affects the signs that are ruled by Venus for a start, and by Mars. So that's the signs ruled by Mars are Scorpio and Aries. The signs ruled by Venus are Libra and Taurus. And these get pulled into this. And this conjunction of Mars and Venus is, it again, like everything in astrology, it has a good side and a bad side. Is it war that's going to win, or is it peace? You know, I'm fascinated by this. And I looked up some examples of, you know, people who have this conjunction. And of course, there's great ones like Tom Jones and Barry White, you know, the Walrus of Love. And
yeah.
A little tag anyway, you know, Tom Jones, right?
Yeah. Sex bomb.
Yeah, they have that in Cancer. But guess who else has it? Because these are the planets of war and peace. Mars is war, Venus is peace. They come together, and what's gonna come out on top? Is it war? Is it peace? And Hitler has it. Has the conjunction, but so does Mahatma Gandhi. So it's not, you know, as with all, but these are people who are, and that's a political manifestation of this. And as you mentioned, Andrew has it, and so does Buddy Ghislaine and Epstein and someone else. I mean, just, you know, and you can see that that's, you know, It's about sex there, and it's
Well,
a very sexy conjunction.
yeah, it is. And that's, it's, love or sex, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find it, I mean, I was just looking at exactly what happens before this second conjunction, the one at
Mhm.
0 Aquarius, because I mean, we are on the brink of a war at the moment, if we are going to be looking at the news.
Yeah.
And Mars is exalted in Capricorn, it's stronger than the Venus.
But
But what's really interesting, I think, is that Mars actually goes past Pluto. This is early March, and then moves on. And then Venus comes back to Pluto. And Venus has been in the underworld with Pluto already.
Mhm.
And she comes back to Pluto. So it's almost as if something has to die to be reborn. There's something going on with that Venus Pluto that's very deep and potent and powerful. And it's feminine energy as well. It's female energy, more so than this sort of Mars, the rage of Mars. And then they move into Aquarius and meet, where there's equality. There's something more equal. So I just find it a fascinating kind of the interplay of the planets. So in your personal life, and this may be for Capricorn and Cancer, what has to die to be so you can be reborn and move forward on a more equal footing? I mean, that's kind of, to me, the symbolism that it evokes, actually.
And I think it's really interesting, as you say, that it starts off with Mars being the more powerful of the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we are currently right now.
Yeah.
Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Okay. It's considered to be its best position. It's got a lot of force and power in Capricorn. And you can see, although I can't help having noticed what's happening with the news, even though I've been trying to block it out.
Yeah.
See that, these are, Capricorn is about, it's to do with the establishment. It's to do with nation states. And they are gathering for war along these borders, right? Along the border of Ukraine. What I'm hoping for, as you say, is that what happens next is that when Venus moves into Aquarius, it's actually, I think that first decan of Aquarius is actually, it's good for Venus. I think it's ruled by Venus. So Venus becomes more powerful.
Yeah.
Behind that, and Mars becomes less powerful. Aquarius is also about communications, talking about uniting, about group effort.
Yeah.
About whereas you can see that Capricorn's not necessarily about having a discussion about things,
Yeah.
So let's hope that we get to that 0 Aquarius point before it kicks off. We're at a dangerous point because of Pluto being involved with this. It's on a knife edge, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
interesting that I haven't got Putin's chart with me at the moment, but he's a Libra, isn't he?
He is a Libra, yeah. He has Pluto on the midheaven.
Pluto
and Leo on the midheaven power,
Yeah. So this
egotistical power as well in Leo.
I'm hoping that this is more, because there's issue, when you look back historically, what is this like? Is it going to be like the Crimean War, which was a disaster? Or is it going to be more like, I don't know, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which everybody got really scared and then went away again. But it's a dangerous point, and people are playing with fire.
Yeah.
And it's also classic. We have suddenly, we have a scandal at home, suddenly there's a foreign war. But
yeah.
On a personal level, I just want to say that I think I want to go back to Mahatma Gandhi and Barry White and Tom Jones, that actually this is a very sexy conjunction. It's a very, it's wonderful for lovers. It's wonderful for, partnerships of all kinds, for, actually cementing a relationship. And it's
Yeah.
and it's also fantastic for people who are artistic, you know, for because it gives people a kind of creative artistic passion. I think
Mm.
Amy Winehouse has this as well, had
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
this conjunction too.
Mm.
You know, there's a kind of passion with it. And so if you're anybody creative, this is incredible, can maybe very, very motivating,
Mm.
especially since it's really chiming with the planets in Pisces, which is a very creative sign.
Absolutely. I mean, we're moving, they're moving into March and April. They're two of the most exciting months this year, without a shadow of a doubt. So, and when you were talking about lovers, I mean, for Virgo, the Venus and Mars in Capricorn are in your 5th house. And then when it moves into Aquarius, the Venus Mars, then it's Libra, that's your lovers section. So those two star signs in particular, this could be a very intriguing month for love, affairs, passion. But yeah, go
I
on.
think I think Virgo is absolutely blessed with this, you know, because then they have Jupiter in this house of partnership.
Yeah.
You know, Virgo, if you want to have an affair, or if you're a creative person, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this goes right through until the end of this period, you
Yeah.
know.
And also I think what's, because I find it so interesting, we're talking 5th house in astrology, so it's the house of children, but it's also what you give birth to. So creative impulses, your masterpiece, your skills, your talents, your gifts, it's both, actually, isn't it?
Mm.
So it is bringing what's new to life. It is bringing something new to life. So kind of very exciting time for the creatives and the artists, definitely this month.
And if you want to have a baby, quite
Yeah.
simple, you know, if you're trying for a baby, especially Virgo,
Yeah.
but also Virgo, Libra,
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
but also Capricorn, Cancer, probably, you know, this is a really good time to be trying.
Yeah.
You know, it's the sperm and the egg coming together. That's what Venus and Mars are on
Yeah.
a very basic level. And
Yeah.
when you think of that as a sort of insemination, that's how it works artistically too. It's an insemination. It's a
Yeah.
bringing together of whatever two different elements. It's the yin and yang,
Mm.
and it's really prolonged. That's why we're talking about it so
Yeah.
much. Usually, you know, they meet and that's sort of it, and then they for a few days and then they move on.
Mm.
They're just coming back and forth. They're staying together. They're really into each other this time.
They're together all month. And I also want to say, this, I mean, you touched on it, but it is a good time for joint ventures, for mergers and alliances. And again, so if you're an Aries or a Taurus, when they're in Capricorn, for Aries it's your career sector. For Taurus, when they're in Aquarius, it's your career sector. And also the opposite signs, so Cancer when they're in Capricorn, Leo when they're in Aquarius. If you're looking at finding a partner or looking for mergers or some kind of alliances, it's a really strong time to be doing this with Venus and Mars coming together.
And you've got a lot of opportunities with it as well. So maybe more than one alliance, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you can have more than one go and really kind of get to know each other. I mean, it's after Valentine's Day, but even Valentine's Day for the first time in years was a good one, very good because of this.
Yeah.
And it's I think that it fits in again with the, we were talking about how people are really missing that physical.
Yeah.
And Mars and Venus in Capricorn, this is very physical. It's an earth sign. And in Aquarius, less physical, I have to say. This is like a mental connection. When it moves into Aquarius, it's all about, air. It's fixed air, right? So it's those communications, the mental connection, and that's in early March. It's the 6th where they have the exact conjunction at 0 degrees, where Mercury has gone across that point just before we start, before our period that we're talking about. But it's very activated. That's zero Aquarius. The sun went across it in February, early February, then Mercury went across it. And now these guys are going across it. But then what we get is this, we should talk about that, the new moon on the 2nd of March.
Yeah, it's this, I mean, everything kind of peaks actually in this first week of March, because this is when both Venus and Mars meet Pluto on the 3rd and then move into Aquarius and immediately make their conjunction on the 6th. But also we have a lovely new moon in Pisces on the 2nd, and which is conjunct Jupiter. So we have the first conjunction of Jupiter with an inner planetary body, the Sun Jupiter conjunction. One of the loveliest days of the year is on March the 5th.
Yeah.
So, this is real, where the Pisces energy really gets going during this new moon. It's lovely. And it pulls in Neptune as well, doesn't it? In a wide conjunction. So Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Neptune, all in Pisces. So, I mean, straight away for Virgo and Scorpio, romance and relationship sectors. What's emerging, what's new, what fresh start is coming in those areas. And Pisces, an incredible new moon, Christina.
Yeah, I was a massive wave, I mean, this is back to what I was saying about emotions. This is an incredibly emotional new moon. And it is an amazing new moon just afterwards, not before, because that's the time when things are going under before, but just afterwards you're emerging and you're coming out. It's like if you like to surf, if you like body surfing, when the wave just pulls back, at that new moon, and then it crests, and then you're ready to go. So get your surfboards ready, because this new moon is going to take us right into the next few months. Why? Because it's making conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune, really, I mean, widely, and then the full moon later on is making that opposition. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this is the beginning of surfing a huge wave of energy for everyone in some sector of your chart. So for Pisces, this is a personal wave of energy, and it may be, and for many, many people, I think this is spiritual energy, because we're talking Pisces, right? The best, we're talking how the worst of Pisces is, say, someone like Prince Andrew, that's very low, a low person. But the very best of Pisces is this spiritual, universal, compassionate connection, or artistic connection. The best of Pisces is something like Chopin, something really, really beautiful. And so for each of us, this is somewhere in the chart. And as you're saying, clearly for Scorpio, this is in a very creative, or it could be romance. For Cancer, it may be about getting out of your shell, and seeing the big world. I know that a lot of Cancerians have found this whole pandemic, they really had to retreat and protect themselves. But this could be the wave that pulls you out of yourself. It's really important for Gemini as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 10th house. So, career vocation. And I would, if there's any opportunity to actually get on the media for Gemini, I mean, Gemini is a great media sign. This is a fantastic time to do it. It's, the sort to be an influencer for, your tweets to go viral or whatever. But, you can really make a difference, or get a wide reach of people through this Jupiter and Neptune, and do it in a way that is emotionally connecting, actually reach people's emotions through this. It could be very exciting. Sagittarius, home and family sector, maybe, I don't know, they're going off to foreign places to look for somewhere new to buy and buy the EC. That's it, Sagittarius, you're all doing the same thing.
All Sagittarians will be buying a boat and sailing across the Atlantic from now on. But, Sagittarius, this is a big wave of emotion in your family sector as well. So it could be that, you have a lot of grandchildren suddenly turn up,
or a big wedding or anniversary, a big party as well, a real celebration of family life, isn't it? So it's an exciting new moon wherever it falls, in your horoscope.
I would say that for everyone, this is also the precursor. People talk about, we've been talking about this conjunction of Neptune and Jupiter like it's only on the April the 12th. That's the day and that's it. This is it already. We're here. Okay. And so you need to really be feeling, pay some attention on this new moon. Feel it. Feel what it's doing, and feel it for the next couple of weeks, because it's a new moon. New moons any lunation, you can probably feel it for the next 2 weeks. It tells you about the next couple of weeks. And
Yeah.
this, so feel where there's the movement, where there's the big emotion. You know, it may be somewhere kind of quite unexpected for you. So, you know, for Taurus, it may be in sort of group activities. And that's for each of us, because it's going to, and I think it's quite interesting actually for Aries, you know, they may really have a big spiritual moment.
Yeah.
So for each of us, it's going to be some slightly different permutation, some different, it will manifest in a different way. But it's important enough so that we should all be paying attention.
And what I like about it is that we get the new moon, and then, I mean, the sun conjuncts Jupiter on March the 5th, and then it conjuncts Neptune on March the 13th. So it really is, you know, there's the fortnight between the new moon and the full moon is proactive. It's kind of forward moving. And there's just these opportunities there to really kind of ride this wave and go with it. It's exciting. It's exciting astrology.
I think it's really exciting. And I just want to point out that on that day, the 2nd of March of the new moon, consider that the moon makes the conjunction with the sun. Obviously, that's what a new moon is. Then it makes the conjunction with Jupiter, then with Neptune on that day. So you have like a mini version of what the sun is about to do. And then the sun goes on to repeat that. And it's like these waves. There's a small wave, and there's a big wave, and then there's going to be a bigger wave. On the same day, I just want to point out that Saturn and Mercury are making conjunction too. And and that's a good thing. This is a very sciencey conjunction. And one of the important things with this wave of emotion, this wave of creativity, this wave of artistry, this wave of beauty, spiritual, all of these Pisces things, is how are you going to keep tethered? How are you going to not completely lose all sense of reality?
Yeah.
And actually, Mercury and Saturn are giving us a little clue there. It's the things of Aquarius that are going to be quite helpful, perhaps.
Yeah.
Where Aquarius is in the chart.
And it's kind of, you know, this, when with such strong Pisces energy, there's always the danger that just remains a fantasy. You know, a fantasy, but how are you going to turn that dream into reality? How are you going to manifest it or make it real? So, you know, that Mercury Saturn is about, I don't know, drawing up the business plan or getting real about what needs to happen, you know, booking time in your diary to work things out, talking to experts, whatever. But it is, you know, it is the realm of the sort of fantasy, the imagination, our dreams, but they do need harnessing and bringing down to earth to be made real. There was one other thing that I do want to say, you know, because particularly for Aquarius and Leo, it's going to be in your financial sectors. So, I mean, there is a cautionary note there because Jupiter, Neptune together, they are a bit like a bubble. They're, you know, there's inflation rates are going up here in, you know, in the UK. So something may seem like a really, really good idea that you want to get involved in. Be very careful though of being scammed or seduced, and make sure that whatever you're getting involved in is sound. Actually, this is where you need to do your research, check things out, because there is a danger that kind of, you know, it can be overinflation.
I agree with you. I want to interject there and say it's about expert advice as well, like who are the real experts.
Yeah.
And that's what's being indicated by that new moon. In particular, Pisces, you know, I'm sorry, in particular, Leo, this Pisces is in your 8th house of debt. You know, so you need to be careful with that. On the upside, you may get some incredibly great investors in whatever your project is, whatever it is. You may be dealing with very wealthy people with a lot of money. There may be a lot of money involved, for example. But you could get into debt, and it could be a huge fantasy. B, I really want to agree with you about this inflation and this cost of living. It's real. It's coming, you know, it's here already. And I think that we all need to really take that into account.
Yeah.
That money is distorted. Weird things are happening. There is a bubble of some kind.
Yeah.
And that's true in the capitalist world, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And this is one of the, this is, I think, because of, it was always going to be the consequences of the pandemic on some level, wasn't it? I mean, the economy has just gone skew with, and here we have this, all these interesting, that as the planets move out of Capricorn, triggering Pluto, then suddenly we get all this Pisces overblown, this inflation, the Jupiter Neptune, and we're now starting to see the consequences of all that's gone before, actually.
well, and also this, just on a sort of even wider note, that in 2008, when Pluto went into Capricorn, we had the banking crisis.
Yeah.
Pluto is going to be leaving Capricorn into 2023.
Yeah.
So we're coming into that. How well did we deal with the banking crisis? Was the economy, the system was not readjusted. In fact, what we created was greater debt.
Yeah.
This is where we're coming to now. Is it possible that there's a big debt crisis coming?
Yeah.
So, that's something to take into account.
Yeah, it is. And this is always with, with the slow moving planets, there's strengths to them, there's potential there, but there's also the flip side as well. There's the challenges or weaknesses of it. So, hopefully from what we're kind of talking about in this podcast, you're getting an idea of where you can maximize this and make the most of the potential of what's going on, but also, just take heed of the cautionary note.
And the cautionary note also chimes with the fact that we have the eclipses are in Taurus and Scorpio this year, which is to do, those are money. That's the money axis, among other things. It's passion. It's a passion axis as well. I just the fact that Taurus is ruled by Venus, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. We have the conjunction that we're in at the moment, which is the way that if you were going to use a word for that conjunction, the word would be passion. So, but it's also to do with money. And it's, I noticed that we were talking about money earlier on when we were talking about this past month and how we've been hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
I had a lot of bills to pay, just big bills. I forgot to mention that my tooth broke, so I had a huge dentist bill as well. So, just generally it's been bad. But it's important to, be keeping an eye on money with these eclipses throughout 22. And taking it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we just move on to the full moon? I'm aware of the time's ticking. Probably.
Yeah, it is. We've gotten very kind of deep into things there.
Oh, yeah.
And it is on the 18th.
Yeah.
At 8 in the morning. It seems on my software anyway. That's what it's telling me. 8 in the morning. And again, it's highlighting that Jupiter Neptune conjunction.
Yeah,
is directly opposite to that.
Yeah.
And, the moon is over in Virgo, of course, so it's a Virgo full moon. But the sun is right next to Neptune, and Jupiter's just gone past both of those, and it's making this actually very lovely sextile to Pluto. So it's powerful. So Pluto at that full moon will be making a trine to the moon and a sextile to the sun. So it's actually kind of Pluto being positive, transformative. It's a possible, it's a moment where you can make some changes, actually possibly really smoothly.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about it is that it also pulls in the nodes. I mean, the nodes are still closely, the North Node in Taurus is also pulled in to make a trine to the moon. So there is this full moon, for me, there is a theme of harvesting, or, if you think of the symbolism of Virgo, this possibly during this full moon is how you find a way to harvest the potential, or, we are Virgo's an earth sign, and you need the earth signs to make these dreams, these fantasies real. So I kind of like this full moon.
I love it.
I think strong earth sign, Taurus, North Node, Virgo moon, Pluto Capricorn, all the earth signs pulled in. So it really is kind of, it's excellent for creation or making things happen, producing things.
It's also excellent for like publicity, for instance, if you're Sagittarius,
Mm,
being seen, or as you were saying, sort of for harvest, some kind of and for visibility.
yeah.
It's probably pretty good for something like popularity, for who's that for?
Well, I like it. I mean, for Virgo, this is your full moon. Make the most of this, and because so much is happening in your opposite sign, again, a good full moon for partnership, getting the right people. If getting people who can back you, invest in you, influencers. I like it for Virgo in particular.
Yeah.
Who are you thinking of?
I was actually thinking of Scorpio, because
Okay.
I like that, the way that it's tilted, because it's got all that creative, it's like all of your creative power can somehow be seen with this,
Mm-hmm.
with this full moon in a practical way
Yeah.
by an audience.
Yeah.
So, if you have like a website or a book or something that you want to show to people, it's
Mm.
like, and it's got a sort of practical effect,
Yeah.
that earthy grand trine, essentially. There's
Yeah.
a grand trine going on with this. So there's a wonderful mixture with this full moon of emotions and practicality,
Yeah.
or emotions and results,
Mhm.
and for Scorpio, it looks to me like an audience, it's potential audience. It's obviously really important for Pisces. This is about relationships.
Yeah.
It's the full moon in your relationship sector.
Yeah.
Emotions will be running high, of course, but Pisces, you need to remember that you're the person with the emotional, with the power, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
that you can be really overwhelming. I love you so much. Okay, all right, says the Virgo.
That's why Pisces make such great actors. I love you all. My moment on the center stage.
Love everything.
Yeah, and the Virgo does that. Okay, let's just rein it in a little, doesn't it? Let's pay attention to the details now. Let's do the sums rather than letting it all hang out, kind of thing. So yeah, it's an exciting full moon, because it does, I mean, as you said, I mean, that mix of earth and water is lovely.
And it's incredibly optimistic as well. I mean, in a way that is that we need now. It's been so hard, right?
Yeah.
And actually, what has been happening, astrologically during the pandemic, is that we may not see we may not be able to understand exactly how, but society has been transformed. Society has been transformed towards the end of this Pluto through Capricorn, which has already been transforming the establishment and the way that money works. And this is part of that transformation. But the emotional impact is something that we may be really feeling now, even though we don't quite know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels, I mean, there's, this Pisces season there, I mean, there's passion there, but it also feels hopeful, actually. I think it's time to kind of,
very optimistic,
find your faith again, start trusting again, find your faith, start dreaming about, your future, that there is one. I mean, there was a time in the pandemic when particularly younger generation, it was like they had no future. It was awful. But this is, this is hopeful again. It's time to stir the pot of the dreams and, get that sort of excitement and inspiration moving. I think that's what, for me, this is what is being lit up in the month ahead.
Yeah. And it's optimistic. I mean, that the point is that there is a future.
Yeah.
And the reason this full moon is so cool is because it's talking about practicality. It's like, yes, we can have those dreams, but in fact, there are ways forward. We're maybe not as stuck with this reality as we thought we were. Maybe we're going to save the planet, Sally. This would be, wouldn't it?
Wow, that would be fantastic.
That would be really, really good. I mean, and this should be the direction that people are thinking is, how are we going to learn to live on this planet harmoniously,
Yeah.
in harmony with the planet?
Yeah.
Because it's not harmonious at the moment. It's all lopsided, right? And we
Yeah.
need to get the harmony back.
Yeah.
And that's possible if we think in an optimistic way. And that's why this teetering at the moment is so very dangerous and sad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and Jupiter's the global planet, isn't it? You know, this Jupiter, Neptune in Pisces, it's incredibly spiritual and love for all and inclusive. I mean, it's a gorgeous, I mean, that's the positive side of it. So
well, you know, what do you love the planet? Do you love being in this world?
Yeah.
And that's the power of Jupiter and Pisces, is universal love.
Yeah.
And that's also the power of how can we make the future, how can we move into the future in a more loving way. And now I sound like a complete hippie.
Well, good. Let's end on that note, being complete hippies and sending out universal love.
Universal love.
I think that's a great way of celebrating the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that's coming. And we're feeling it now, Pisces season.
I'm feeling it. That's why I'm getting married tomorrow.
I know. Well, congratulations, and have a fantastic time. And I can't wait to see all the photos.
Well, photo. You can see the photo. Okay.
All right. Take care. See you next month.